Geography is the combination of the Greek word geo, the art, and graphies to the describe, literary meaning, the art description. It is it is the field of the science that developed through the study of the land surface, the inhabitants. Geography can be divided into two parts: physical and human geography. The physical and human. Physical is the landform, atmosphere, the hydrosphere, ocean, biosphere, and the human, the settlement, population, agriculture, industrial resources. The longitude and co- coordinates. The longitude and the coordinates. Seasons. Basics of the geography. The motion of the earth, radiation and evolution. Basic of the geography, the motion of the earth, rotations and revolution, the latitude, longitude and coordinates, the seasons of the earth and the earth's sun, geometry, the local time, time and date, time zone, eclipse, the motion of the earth. The earth that rotated on the axis, the imaginary line above which the earth rotated, the earth rotated along it is the axis from west to east. The earth is an invisible line around the which an object rotates. The spin earth, the axle that also known as the obliquity of the eclipse is around 23.5 degrees. The exact degree of gravitation 23 hours and 56 minutes and 4.1 seconds. Exact time of the rotation to earth revolves around 365 times per cycle that delivers the circular devotees derived from the night of the beloved is called the cycle of communication. Distance of the allows little the largest receives the sunlight radiation in the heat diff we will the static in the is the front pressure system and the longitude. Longitude and also vertical mountains and also land medium also from the kilograms and distance from the 180 degrees longitude. It is called the anti-meridian. Coordinates. The latitudes and longitudes of the cities and the location of the place and the coordinates distance of latitude and longitude is the intersection determining the geographical point of place. Seasons of the Earth. The revolution of the Earth around the Sun, and it is the incredible axis that causes the phenomenon of the seasons. So, in the northern hemisphere, we have the Barnum, Venus, the Element of Mars, the Jupiter, the start of the spring, once in March, solstice, June 20, the longest of the year, and the extent of the spring, the right of the equal level of the step, and the level of solstice, the surface to the the variation of the two molecules of oxygen. This is also to the force of this water since into element and division of oxygen. No return is no sense element and division of oxygen. The earth sun zero two. The earth focus around the sun is the elliptical person instituted at the focus. Beyond the earth, closer to sun, beyond the earth, farthest from sun. Earth's geometry. When the view from space, the earth look like a sphere. However, it has been the contact the earth is not the perfect sphere as the earth equatorial the diameters is more than the polar diameters. The difference between the equatorial and polar diameter is about 43,524 meters or 43.5 kilometers. As the earth could not be the called in the perfect sphere and is the instant called in the geonite. That is the other name for the shape is the oblate straight. Geonite. This is the called the geonite, not the exact value of circle round in it, but circle in earth. This is the shape of geonite. The gravitational force is not the same the difference latitude on the surface. The gravitational force is not the same as the difference latitude on the surface. The gravity halos that differ according to the mass of the material, poles and the equator. The outside Earth, the gravity decreases with the distance from the center of the Earth. The gravity decreases with the distance from the center of the Earth. Inside Earth, the gravity increases with the distance from the center of the Earth. The gravity increases with the distance from the center of the Earth. A gravity anomaly is the deviations or the difference between the observed gravity on the Earth's surface and the value predicated by the theoretical model. This is the IST time. IST is the 82.5 East Meridian and IST 5.5 hour ahead of GMT. This is the time GMT show GMT plus 5.5 and local time. Local time then implies the times of the place determined on the basis of the apparent movement of the sun. Local time implies the time of the place determined on the basis the apparent movement of the sun. When a longitude faces the sun, when the longitude faces the sun, it is the local time is 12 p.m. and when it is the opposite to the sun, it is local time is 12 a.m. It is the local time is 12 p.m. and when it is the opposite to the sun, it is the local time is 12 a.m. Since the Earth makes once the complete rotation of 360 degree in one day or 24 hours, the Sun the Earth makes one complete rotation of 360 degree in one day or 24 hours. It passes through 15 degree. It passes through 15 degree in 1 hour or 1 degree in 4 minutes. It passes through 15 degree in 1 hours or 1 degree in 4 minutes. The Earth rotated from the west to east. The Earth rotated from to west to east. So every 50 degree we go the eastward. The local time is the advance by 1 hours. Conversely, if we go the westward, local time is the reduced by 1 hour. Standard time and time zones. The full convention is a system of the standard times is adopted by all the countries. The most the countries adopt their standard times from the central meridian of their countries. Angular district between the standard meridian of the nation of the Greenwich Meridian Time (GMT) will lead to the calculation of standard time. Time zone. What is the time zone? The time zone is the region which has the consist standard times for legal, the commercial and social objective. And countries must observe the multiple time zones. Plus, the discussion is separate time zones for the purpose and practical question. This question, if it is the 10 a.m. IST, then what would be the local time at Shillong, 192 degree east longitude? UPSC 1999 ये क्वेश्चन आया था. तो UPSC question, the prelims, if it is the 10 a.m. IST, when what would be the local time at Shillong, 192 degrees east longitude? UPSC 1999 9.38 am. So B option 10.38 am and 10.22 am, 9.22 am. तो ये आंसर कॉमन में दीजिए. Dilate the saving in the temperature region. The dialing the saving time is for the summertime is the practice of the advancing clock during the summer evening by 1 hour. In DST, evening the time is increased by sacrifices the morning hour for the countries in the tropical and subtropical zone DST. DST is not much the useful because of the less seasonal variation in the day-night duration, date and time. Date, what is the date? But date and time. The date of the place is the dependent on the time. The date of the place is dependent on the time. Thus, with the sense in the time that also varies. International Day or deadline. International deadline where the date sense by the exactly 1 day. International
Oi, bisa. Cuma aku itu biar lo bisa, tapi gua angkin aja. Saya kan bisa. Kita besi itu masuk ke और जेडी टू दिस होगा खुलाना खुलेंगे नहीं
That that the place is dependent on the time. Thus, with the sense in the time that also the varies. The international deadline where the date sense by exactly 1 day when it is the process. In the traveler the process the deadline from the east to west. East to west converges in the day because of the loss in the time when the was went the because of the loss in the time he has given and whether person the deadlines for the west is either gained in the day because of the gain in the time either encountered the international deadline in the mid-Pacific curves from the normal 180 degrees meridian at the Brazil Eastern Fiji Tonga and other aspects to the biblical portions of day and that in the some of the Iceland group that are the cut through by the meridian. The idea is of the conventions that uh, given the day has to the start and in the summer and it is the not the recognized as the legal unity it has no the international stress. This is the eclipse is the partition of the total volume of the light of one objective observed by another. The solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between the earth and the sun. The volume swell of half of the sun's light facing the earth. This direct when the position moves to the past where the shadow of the earth creating the phenomena of the solar eclipse. The lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse occurs when the earth passes through the sun and the moon. The puts inside the earth's shadow to fall on the moon. Geomorphology about the universe, the origin of universe. There are many theories that try to explain the origin of the universe. But the Big Bang Theory but the Big Bang Theory is the most credible one. It said that over the entire the universe was the uh, condensates into one small granular practice the singularity with the infinite density and temperature in the exponent about 13.8 billion years ago. Since then, our the universe has been expanding. This event of the origins of universe is called as Big Bang. About the solar system. The solar system is the gravitationally bound system of the sun and the object where the orbit. It thus the solar system is generally divided into five major zones. The inner or the terrestrial belt zone, the asteroid belt, the outer or gas grand zone, the Kuiper belt, and the Oort cloud. There is no one single boundary over these regions. However, other sites are
Right,
not.
yeah, continue. Okay. No question. हाँ मॉर्निंग में मिलिए राती ना राती ओ लोकेश लोकेश नहीं लोकेश नहीं चाहिए कौन बोलेगी लाइब्रेरी जाएगा ये तो बोली ये
About the universe, origin of the universe. It's a net found that the universe was constant into this given the practice the singular community density and the temperature with the exploded about a certain it billions years ago since then our universe has been the expanding. This event for the reasons of universe is described as the Big Bang. About the solar system. The solar system is the gravitationally bound systems of the sun and the object that orbit it. The solar system is generally divided into five major zones: the inner or the terrestrial plate zone, the asteroid belt, the outer or gas giant zone, the Kuiper belt, and the Oort cloud. There is no the exact boundary for this zone. However, and their size are not well determined. There is also the overlap in the sense that the object from one zone often than appear in another zone. Using of Earth, the experiment by the nebular, nebular theory of the space. In the beginnings, there was a gaseous cloud of the hydrogen and helium called as nebula. The cloud contract due to the gravity that landed to the formations of the sun, and it is the core of the nuclear fission. The surrounding the material from the rotation that takes from the planets, the including Earth. The percent the heavier the elements, the concentrate and the colder lighter was the element and the surface. The entire solar system. The entire solar system was the from that single universe, the love and the process of the formations of every every consistent object is the belief. The entire solar system was the formed in a single angular block, and the process of the formation of the every solar system objects. All the planets revolve around the sun and rotate they are on the axis. The heavier the elements concentrate at the core while the lighter ones remain at the surface. Interior of the Earth. The interior of the Earth can be classified into three parts broadly. The crust. It is the outermost solid part of the Earth. It is the brightly in nature. The ocean crust is the thinner but denser as the compared to the continental crust. The ocean crust, continental crust, and ocean crust is what is the ocean crust? Ocean crust is the thinner, 5 to 30 kilometer thick, as compared to the continental crust, 50 to 70 kilometer thick. The continental crust is the thicker in the areas of major mountain system. It is as the mass as the 70 to 80 70 to 100 kilometers thick in the Himalayan region. The continent are the composed of the lighter silica plus aluminum, also called Sial, while the oceans have the heavier the silica plus magnesium, the also called sigma, the mantle. The portion of the interior beyond the crust is called the mantle. The mantle extends from the Mohos discontinuity. Discontinuity. The boundary between the crust and mantle to either deep of 2,900 kilometers is the continent 83% of the total volume and 68% of the total core mass of the earth. So the core, what is the core? The core mantle boundary is located at the depth of 2,900 kilometers. The outer core is in the liquid state while the inner core is in the solid state. The core is made up of the very heavy material mostly constituted by the nickel and iron. It is sometimes referred to the Fe and a nickel freight. Fe is the iron, this is the chemical name is freight, and is the nickel freight layer. The surface of the information about the interior of the Earth. The Earth's radius is approximately 6,370 kilometers. The Earth's radius is approximately 6,370 kilometers. No one can reach the center of the Earth. यानी the Earth का कोई middle point या central नहीं है. So with the equate the knowledgeable and the Earth's interior through the four other sources: the direct sources, the mining, the scientific drilling, the project like Deep Ocean Darjeeling, but Deep Ocean Drilling Project, direct source mining, scientific drilling project like Deep Ocean Drilling Project, and intricate ocean drilling project volcanic eruption, the indirect source, the analysis from the met, uh, the analysis from the materials, the gravitation, magnetic field, the earthquake, geothermal gradient, the remote sensing extra. The earthquake as an the indirect source. The earthquake as an indirect source. The earthquake is the shaking of the earth. The study of the seismic wave based the release gives the details information about the interior of the earth. Focus. The point of the release of the energy during the earthquake. The points of the release of energy during the earthquake. This energy, the release from the focus, travel in over the direction in the form of the seismic wave. Epicenter, the point at the directions, but directly above the focus on land, it receives the maximum energy release from and the equator by earthquake. Epicenter, the point that is directly above the focus on land, it receives the maximum energy release from an earthquake. Seismic wave, the energy released during an earthquake travel in the form of the seismic wave. Seismic wave the release during and the earthquake are of the two types. Primary waves is the P waves by longitudinal wave. What is the longitudinal wave and P wave? They are primary wave. This is the type of earthquake and two types of earthquake. Number one is the primary waves and secondary waves. This is the primary wave. It can travel in all the three medium. It reflect the abruptly at the boundary between and the layer having the different density. Thus, the shadow zone is created. And secondary waves by S wave and the uh, transverse waves. It can the traveler only in the solid and the gaseous the medium but not in the liquid. Due to it is the inhabitable to the traveler in liquid mediums is formed as the shadows above the described the seismic wave are the immensely useful for the understanding the Earth's the interiors. By studying how these the waves travel and are the reflected of the reflected the scientific enter the structure of the Earth interior. This the speed and the part of the seismic wave that reflect the density and the state of solid or the liquid of the different layer. This is the earthquakes. Gravitational as and the indirect source of the interior of Earth. This is the Earth, and this is the point of silicons. And now this is the chemical compositions in the percentage. And now iron, oxygen, and silicon, magnesium, nickel, sulfur, and the titanium. And the gravitational as the indirect source of the interior of Earth. The gravity values also then differ according to the mass of material. The gravity anomalies. that gives us the information about the distribution of the mass of the material in the crust of the earth. Geomorpho Geomagnetisms as and the interactions of the interior of earth. The geomagnetism referred to the magnetic field that surrounded the earth, extending from its the interior into the space. The primary forces of the earth magnetic field is the dynamo effect. This effect is generated by the movement of molten irons and the nickels in the outer core. As the earth rotates, the motions of the liquid outer cores that created the electrical current. This current generate the magnetic field and the combined effect of this the field created in the last the complex magnetic field surrounding the planet. The presence of the magnetic field indicates the existence of the liquid outer core composed mainly of the iron and nickel. The behaviors of the symmetric field are including it is the extent and the functioning that helps the scientists to understand the dynamics and the compositions of the outer core. Geomorphic process, the endogenic and the androgenic process that causing the physical and chemical sense on the Earth's surface are known as the geomorphic forces. Exotonic by exonetic. Exogenic by exonetic forces are the direct result of the stress included in the earth materials due to the various forces that come into the existence due to the sun heat. All the exogenic, the geomorphic forces are the covered under say, the general term the denudation and the weathering in the situ decay and the distinct, uh, disintegration of the rocks by the action of the atmospheric and the weather forces, the erosion and transportation, the active the wearing of the earth's surface by the agent like the wind, running water, ice, etc. Transportations that involve the removal of the eroded the debris to the new position. Mass movement. This the movement that transfer the mass of rock debris down the slopes under the direct influence of gravity and deposition. And the dumpings of the debris in the certain part of the earth where it may accumulate to form new the landform rocks. The exogenic forces are the responsible for the polishing, the shaping of the Earth's landform. It is the driven by agent wind, water, the glacier, river, the ocean, gravity. These the agents are the powerful by gravity and the sun energy. Rocks. The rocks is the matter of the two more the minerals. For example, the granite is the mixture of the minerals quartz, feldspar, and the biotite. The samros mat move only one the minerals like the limestone mat of the calcite minerals. The minerals are made of the chemical either electrical combustion of the chemical storage and the concentration of the mineral in the rock that are the high enough to be the economic extraction for the is based on the model of information information is are two types of rock. Igneous rock and the sedimentary rocks and the metamorphic rocks. The rocks form out of the solidification of the mountain rocks. They do not occur in the strata or do they the mountain. So these rocks can be subdivided on the basis of the mineral composition in other crystalline rocks. Classification of the igneous rocks based on origin. The plutonic rocks or the intrusive igneous rock are the common executives of the Earth's crust, the isolated mediums to the forest, the origin, the texture due to pseudopolymer, the typically like color, and the example the granite, diorite, and the capro. Volcanic rocks or the extrusive igneous rock. The sudden the cooling of magma just below or the surface or lava above the surface find the grain because of the rapid cooling and the denser and the darker in color. Example basalt and andesite. Sedimentary rocks. The sedimentary rocks are the formed by the lithophilizations and the oxidations and the compactions of the sedimentary fluids. They are the light or the residual of the varying the thickness of the body and sandstone share the can the fossil. They are formed due to the deposition of the fragment on the rocks. The category called as the sediments by the generate from the various exogenic processes. The rocks igneous, the sedimentary, and the metamorphic on the earth's surface are the broken up into the various sizes of fragments. The fragments are the transported by the different the exogenous dialysis and the deposit it is the deposit through the competition turn into the rocks. The types of the rocks cover 75% of Earth's crust, but the volumetrically occupy only 5%. Places they are available only in the upper part of the crust. Ice deposits and geometric rocks are more to other delete the boom deposit the centimeter in the coin versus the metamorphic rocks. Both the igneous and the sedimentary rocks descends under the heat or the pressure or in the cold. No fossil found, no stratification, the metamorphic in the process was the recrystallization and reorganization of the minerals occur within the granite standard marble bronze crystal. These are some the example of the metamorphic rocks. Rock cycle. Rock cycle is the continuous the process through the whose all the rocks are the transformed into new ones. One type keeps on the changing to the other types. Intelligent process but distribution of oceans and the continent. The continent draft theory. This theory was the amongst the first theories to the explain how the distribution of the ocean and continent has the census is the evolution of Earth. It was the process by the Alfred Wegener in 1912. According to the Wegener, all the continent from the single continent mass and mega ocean that surrounded the sun. The subcontinent was named the Panga Pangea. The magma ocean was called the Panthalassa. Around the 200 million years ago, the supercontinent Pangaea. The supercontinent was named Pangaea. The mega ocean was called Panthalassa. Around the 200 million years ago, the subcontinent Pangaea began to split. The Pangaea first broken into two large continent masses as the Laurasia and the Gondwana, the forming the northern and southern components, the respectively. Subsequently, the Laurasia and Gondwana, the continent to the break into the various smaller the continent that exist today. The variety of the evidence was offered in support of the theories such as the meshing of continent and jigsaw pit. The rocks of the sun agree across the ocean, the distribution of fossil, the pores for drafting, the pole filling spores. Due to the rotation of the earth, the attraction of the moon and the sun, tidal poles of the sun and moon. The conventional currency theory. The Arthur's Homeless in 1930s that discussed the possibility of the convention current operating in the mental potential. These current are the generated due to the radioactive element that causing the thermal difference in the mental position. The homeless argue that there exists a system of the such the current in the entire mental position. This was an attempt to provide an explanation to the issue of force based on which the contemporary the scientists discarded the continued the draft theory, the C-polar and the spreading theory. During 1940s and 1950s, C-polar the mappings was done. It was found that area increased away from the MOR mid-ocean light gas in 1960s. Perry has added that the answer to who's regarding the ocean the mapping using the convection theory that depend mostly on the mid-ocean mid oceanic rights and as the difference among the different layer of the rocks, the hence the earthquake that the constraint the eruption and the result of the oceanic ridges that causes the rupture of the oceanic crust and the new lava jets. The into it the pushing the oceanic crust of the either the side of the ocean floor, thus the spread it the lead to the formation of new oceanic crust layer. Key the concept discussed in this theory are the mid ridges, the theory proposes to that new oceanic crust and continuously format at the mid-ocean ridges. These are the underwater mountain ranges. These the ridges are The characteristics by volcanic activities and high heat flow, the magma from the mantle rises and this the rises the cold and the solidification too from near the oceanic crust, spreading centralized as the new crust formed at the mid-ocean rises. Uh, it then persists the older crust away from the ridges, forcing the sea floor to the speed. These the forces that create the systematical patterns of the crustal formations on either side of the ridges. Magnetic strips, one of the key pieces of the evidence that support tendency for the spreading is the patterns of the magnetic strips on the ocean floor. These the strips are the uh, symmetrical on the either side of the mid-ocean ridges and the reversal in the Earth's magnetic field over the geological time as the magma cools and the solidifies. Iron is a mineral wood in the Elysian wood in the Earth's the magnetic field, the preserving and the record of the direction and the polarity of the magnetic field at the times of their formation against of the ocean crust. The edge of the oceanic crust, the increase of the distance from the mid-ocean ridges, the youngest crust is the found at the rightest axis, while the oldest crust is the located farthest from the ridges near the continent margins. This the pattern of the again supported the idea that new crust is the continuously formed and the pushed the outward from the spreading centers. The moreover the ocean crust rocks are the such the younger than the continental crust. Thus, sediment on the ocean floor are the unexpectedly very thin. The scientists would experiment if the ocean floor were as the old as the continent to have the complete the sentiment column found to be the older than the 200 million year. The subduction zone. The theory also that explain the process of the subduction where the oceanic crust that eventually descended back into the mantle and deep ocean and trance. This the recycling process that balance the creation of new crust at the mid-ocean ridges, the maintaining the overall size of the Earth's surface. Rate of the sea floor, the spreading decision by S applies the distance between the two equal magnetic strips. The Atlantic 1.0 centimeter per year, the Indian 1.5 centimeter per year, and Pacific 6.6 centimeter per year. Paleomagnetic studies. The paleomagnetism is the study of the record of the Earth magnetic field with the help of the magnetic field recorded in rocks, the sediment or the archaeological materials, the basaltic rocks of the seafloor contain magnetic minerals, and as the rocks is the solidifying the things, this the mineral align themselves in the direction of the magnetic field. Uh, they supported their theory through the paleomagnetic study of rocks. These revealed that the different layer of the rocks that difference the magnetic orientation. This the difference was the result of the simulation change in the Earth's magnetic field and formation of new oceanic crust. The fact that the spending on the ocean showed the process in the shrinking of the other. This the should lead to the consumption of the oceanic crust also, but this was not the properly explained by Hess and Dewey. The plate tectonic theory to explain why the geomorphological in 1967 MC Kenzie, the Parker and the Morgan independently the collected the available idea and came out the another concept, the term plate tectonic. A tectonic plate also called lithospheric lithosphere, lithospherical plate. Lithospherical plate is the massive, the irregularity and the shape of the solid rocks, generally composed of the both continental and the oceanic lithosphere lithosphere. It is the crust and the part of the upper mountain. It is the less dense than the material below it, so it the fold. Astronosphere, the plastic layer below the lithosphere, the pillars on the lithosphere fold on the astronosphere, the pillars move the horizontal over the astronosphere as the rigid unit. These are the seven major and the 20 minor pillars. The major pillars are the Antarctica and the surrounding ocean plate, the North America plate, South America plate, Pacific plate, and Indian, Australian, New Zealand plate, Africa with the Eastern Atlantic by Antarctic floor plate, and the Eurasia and the Aegean the ocean plate. The Arabian plate, mostly the Saudi Arabian landmass. The Bismarck Plate, North Bismarck Plate and the South Bismarck Plate, and the Caribbean Plate, Cocos Plate, John de Fuca Plate between the Pacific and North America plates, and the Nazca Plate, and the Philippines Plate between the Asiatic and Pacific Plate, Persia Plate, the Anatolian Plate for the Turkish Plate is the continent tectonic plates that comprising most of the Anatolia, the Asia Minor, the Peninsula and the country of Turkey. China Plate, Fiji Plate located between the Pacific Plate and the Indo-Australia Plate. Minor tectonic plate are the plates that are less than 20 million square kilometer in area but are the larger than 1 million square kilometer. The microplates are tectonic plates that are the smaller than 1 the million square kilometers. The Bismarck, the Mariana Star and the John Fernandez are the example of the microplates. A plate may be referred to as the continent plate or oceanic plate, the depending on the which of the two occupy in the larger potential of the plate. The Pacific plate is the largely and the oceanic plate the whereas the Eurasian plate may be the called the continent plate. There are three types of plate boundaries. Divergent. Here new crust in the generate as the plate pulled away from each other. And the convergent. Here the crust is the destroyed as one the plate divided under the another. Transform. where the crust is the neither produced nor the destroyed as the pellets slide the horizontally past each other. The shallow movement of the hot, subtended metal that lies below the rigid the pellets is the driving forces beyond the pellets the movement. It was the explained by the earthworm by the homeless in the uh, conventional current theory. And depending on the overlying physical plate boundaries can be the classified as following. OO plate's boundary. The oceanic crust is on the both sides of the boundary, and the CC plate boundaries. They are the continental crust on the both sides of the boundary. And the OC plate boundary. Here the continental crust is one on the side where the oceanic crust is on the other side. Landforms because of the interaction of the different plate boundaries. Convergent boundary. At the convergent boundary pillars, polyd and as such are the sometimes called the destructive boundaries because they result in the removal or the compression of the surface crust. Convergent plate the boundaries are the responsible for some of the most massive and spirituals of the earthly the landform, the major mountain, the range, the volcanoes, and the organ ocean, the trans. The three types of the convergent boundaries are oceanic, continental, convergence. The because the oceanic, the lithosphere includes the dense, the basaltic crust. It is the denser than the continental lithosphere, and so the dense the oceanic village slowly sink into the astronosphere in the process of the uh, subreaction. The subreaction slab the force on the rest of the pellet as the slab cools in. The probably the main causes of the most village movement. The coolings the west of the pellet in the after the eastern as it were. The oceanic, oceanic. This is the O. Oceanic convergence. Convergence. Oceanic convergence is one of the oceanic pillars separate the beneath the other, and the oceanic dance is the pond, shallow and the deep focus. The earthquakes occur and the volcanic activity is the inhabited with the volcanic spawning on the oceanic floor with times is a volcanic island are such as the elevated island. Japan and the continental developments, the more like is the boundaries of the mountains and the separation transports the mountain crosses to environment to the south. The formation to the horizontal side of the center of the quadrant, quadrant and the coordinate of the museum of the transmission boundary in the transformer coordinate of the symptoms called the history basically the boundary is and the along the place the boundary when the motion is very only in the coordinate trans. former plate boundary located where two pillars are the sliding past each other and there is no division or the destruction of the landform but only the deformation of the existing landform. The fracture zones that forms the transform place boundary is known as the transform fault. North Anatolian fault and the Sun Andreas fault are the best example. Divergent boundaries. The boundaries between two places that are the moving apart or the drifting causes the sea below the spreading regions of the divergent boundary. Mutation is replacing the visual the volcanoes.